In this video, I'm going to read one of the most important passages in Scripture from an ecclesiological point of view, because here we have the foundation of the papacy, and the papacy is essential for Christianity. Without the papacy, there can be no Christianity. Make no mistake, without the papacy in the initial centuries, even the Eastern Orthodox could not have existed now. They would have shattered into 1,000 heretical sects. Without the papacy, Protestants is 10,000 heretical sects. Though I slightly exaggerate, they are innumerable. And it's only getting worse. There's no principle of unity in Protestantism, and there's no principle of unity in Eastern Orthodoxy. Catholicism is one because of the papacy. Look at us. We as individuals can be divided as Catholics, but we know if we go beyond a certain point, we're out of the church, and we have to adhere to certain doctrines, and they're so clear, and this is so evident, that we have a catechism. The most recent 1992 catechism. Prior to that, the Catechism of the Council of Trent. There have been other catechisms, like the Catechism of Pope St. Pius X. But we know there are certain teachings you must have to be a Catholic. And there's no doubt about that. And once you've got the teachings, you then have to have the organisational unity. As I say, without that, there's no Christianity. Not in any meaningful sense. Maybe a bunch of guys running around with Bibles. That doesn't make Christianity, and it certainly can't build Christian civilization. Only the church with the papacy at its centre, and Christ at its head, of course, has built a civilization that is Christendom. And without the papacy, there'd have been no Christendom. Just as there are vast numbers of Bible-believing Protestants, as they call themselves, Bible-believing Christians, in the United States, they cannot effect a turnaround of the moral decline of that country. They have not been able to enrich the state with Christ. It remains effectively a godless state. And that fact is manifesting itself more and more, despite the country still being, and having been even more so in decades past, a completely Christian population. That should be a source of astonishment, that a completely Christian population had never been able to make the United States formally a Christian nation. And that failure is now working out. But how could this be? Because in Christendom, a completely Christian population produced a uniquely Christian Catholic civilization. The papacy is the key to that. So I'm going to read this passage now, this chapter 342 of the third volume of the Poem of the Man God, the 1986 English language edition of the 5-volume hardback set. It's entitled Going Towards Caesarea Philippi, Peter's Primacy, given on the 27th of November 1945. The Jordan runs across a plain before flowing into Lake Merom. It is a beautiful plain where cereals grow more and more vigorously day by day, and fruit trees blossom. The hills beyond which Kadesh lies are now behind the pilgrims, who are walking fast at daybreak. They appear to be very cold as they cast keen glances at the rising sun, and they look for it as soon as its rays shine on meadows and caress leaves. They must have slept out in the open, or at most in a stackyard, because their garments are creased and show particles of straw and dry leaves, which they remove as they see them in the light, which is becoming clearer and clearer. The river is detected through its gurgling, which sounds loud in the silent morning in the country, and by the sight of a thick line of trees, the new leaves of which are quivering in the light morning breeze. But it cannot be seen as yet, sunken as it is in the flat plain, although it is swollen by many torrents flowing into it from the eastern hills. When they can see its blue water sparkle through the new greenery on its banks, they are almost on its bank. Shall we walk along the bank as far as the bridge? Or shall we cross the river here? They asked Jesus, who was alone, pensive, and has now stopped waiting for them. See if there's a boat to cross over. It is better to cross here, says Jesus. Yes, at the bridge, which is just on the road to Caesarea Paneas. We might come across someone who has been sent to follow our footsteps, remarks Bartholomew, frowning, while he looks at Judas. No, don't look black at me, says Judas. I did not know that we were coming here, and I've not said anything. It was easy to understand that from Saphet, Jesus would go to the sepulchres of the rabbis and to Kadesh. But I would never have thought that he wanted to go as far as Philip's capital. So they know nothing about it. So we shall not find them through my fault or through their own decision, unless Beelzebub himself leads them, says calmly and humbly the Iscariot. Very well, because with certain people, we must be sharp-sighted and speak very carefully, without letting them have any clue of our plans. We must watch everything. Otherwise, our evangelization will become a perpetual flight, replies Bartholomew. John and Andrew come back, they say. We found 2 boats. They will take us to the other side for a drachma each boat. Let us go down the embankment. And they cross to the other side in the 2 little boats, in 2 trips.